Bookish From, and I am back with another video. And as you can see from the title, this is a currently checked out video. So I was able to do this a lot sooner than I anticipated because I am currently back at work. Our library services are limited, but we are able to pick books up. So of course I have some books that I had been meaning to pick up, or books that I had already had on hold that I needed to check out. So we're going to go ahead and go through these books, and hopefully I get to a lot of these sometime soon. Some of these are on my July TBR, but others I need to figure out some things for like the rest of the year type of situation. The first one that I have here is The Unsung Hero of Birdsong by Brenda Woods, and this is about Gabriel, who is saved from a car accident by a man by the name of Meriwether Hunter. They end up getting along, and both of them end up working at Gabriel's father's auto shop, and they're just chatting one day, and Meriwether accidentally lets it slip that he worked for the 761st Tank Battalion, which is the Black Panthers. So Gabriel's really interested in his story, but he can't figure out why people don't have as much respect for the Black Panther Party as much as they have for his uncle, who also was a war veteran. So I think that he's going to learn a lot about his town, a lot about the people that are in his life, and a lot about the Black Panther Party. This is one that I plan on reading this month. I am super excited to get to it. The next one that I recently hauled that is in my July TBR is Apple in the Middle by Dawn Quigley. This is a book that is about a young girl by the name of Apple who decides that she's going to deny all of her Native American heritage after someone uses a slur for a person that identifies as both white and Native American. What ends up happening is that her father gives her the boot for the summer, and she ends up at the Turtle Mountain Indian Reservation in northern North Dakota, and she learns a lot about herself, about her mother, about her Native American heritage. I have made a statement before that I wanted to make sure I was reading more Indigenous works, or just works in general by other marginalized groups, because it's easy for me to relate to books that are written by Black authors, but I also have a lot to learn about individuals that fit into other marginalized groups. So this is another one that I'm very excited to get to this month. The next two that I have here are two that people have seen before, and I have actually already read both of these before, and it's We Should All Be Feminists by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, as well as Dear Ijeawele, or a Feminist Manifesto of 15 Suggestions. Like I said, I've read both of these before. I just love Chimamanda. I think I first discovered a lot of her works after I watched her TED Talk of the speech, and then that's when I kind of went down that path. I do not own physical copies of these, but I just wanted to do a reread of them, so I decided to check them out. I may sit down sometime within the next 2 weeks or so and just pick these up and read them because they're really quick and easy reads. The next two books that I have here are part of a series, and it is Lost and Found and A Matter of Trust, which are both part of the Bluford Hyde series. I know that a lot of people may have grown up with these. These were published by Townsend Press, and it was a way for underfunded schools to get more books into their schools in order to encourage more reading. I think Townsend Press sold these books to schools for $1 a piece, which is extremely cheap. It follows students in this fictional school, which is Bluford High, and they face a lot of different issues like peer pressure, teen pregnancy, substance abuse, and it's handled very tactfully. This is a critically acclaimed series in the school system and in the library world, and these are books that fly off the shelf at my location where I work, and the kids that I work with really like this series. I have never read the Bluford High series before. It's not one that I grew up with or even knew really about until I started working more so in a library system, and I am super excited to read these. You could tell these are old school covers, but I heard they're really good, and they're particularly short. I think most of them are under 150 pages, so if I really wanted to, these are two books that I could treat myself to by the end of the month. So the next one that I have is one that I'm really excited about, and it is Betty Before X, which was written by Ilyasa Shabazz with Renee Watson. And this is about the life of Dr. Betty Shabazz before she meets and marries Malcolm X. And it is inspired by her early life. First of all, the cover is absolutely beautiful. Second of all, I have this thing I don't think I really tell a lot of people about, but I'm very, very into a lot of the history behind Malcolm X and Betty Shabazz. I do a lot of documentary watching and reading about them, just like articles and stuff, because I think a lot of times when we talk about the civil rights movement, a lot of people focus on the relationship between King and Coretta Scott King and their family dynamic and who they were before the civil rights movement. But I feel like a lot of times the narrative of Dr. Betty Shabazz and of Malcolm X usually gets left out in terms of like educational, like when kids learn about the civil rights movement. I feel like Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz are the couple that's not necessarily, I don't want to say ostracized, but they're not taught about as much as Dr. King and Coretta Scott King. So this is one that I really am excited. I just got the young adult novel X, I think that's what it's called. I'll make sure I leave the cover on the screen. I just purchased that one as an ebook, so I may read the two of those together. The next book that I have here is Sharon Draper's newest release, and it is Blended, and this is about a young girl who has two parents. I believe that her father is black and her mother is white. She's biracial, and she gets these comments like, "You're so exotic, you're so pretty, where are you from?" Which is so interesting because we've talked about this stuff on this channel about those comments geared towards children, and she absolutely hates them. And in dealing with those comments, she also has to deal with the fact that her parents are currently getting divorced and they're not really handling the divorce in the most amicable way, and she feels like she's getting pushed and pulled between her two parents. So I think it kind of just chronicles her experience of being both biracial as well as going through a parental divorce. I am super excited to get to this one. I don't know when I'm going to get to it, but I just finished a Sharon Draper book and I'm itching to pick up another one, and I really want the next one to be this one. The next book that I have here actually has been getting a lot of buzz in the middle grade community, and it's A Good Kind of Trouble by Lisa Moore Ramey. I feel like I'm probably saying that completely wrong, but this is about a young girl by the name of Shay, and Shay is very adamant about staying out of trouble. She is allergic to trouble. She's not about breaking the rules. But by the time she gets to junior high, people start making comments saying that she's not black enough. Her sister is involved in the Black Lives Matter movement, and Shay doesn't really want to have anything to do with it until she attends a protest herself and she realizes how powerful it is. So then she attends school and she decides to wear an armband, I'm guessing in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. And then she's given an ultimatum, probably by someone at the school, and she has to decide whether some rules are worth breaking or not. This is one that I know is going to be good. I have heard nothing but good things about it. This is such a timely book and such an important book. I am so desperate to read this one, and I wish I almost would have figured out how to include it in my July TBR, but I may just go ahead and pick it up in August. The next one that I have here is These Ghosts Are Family by Macy Card. This is one that I actually had started listening to on audio a while ago and marked it as DNF, not because I didn't want to read it, but because I feel like when you read books that are family generational tales, sometimes it's a little bit harder to listen to them on audio because it's easy to mix up different characters, and I felt like in reading this I was going to mix up too many characters because it's about a man who is from Jamaica, who leaves Jamaica and takes on a whole new identity, and it leads to some really confusing things that happen. And I've heard from a lot of people that I follow that this is one that you have to pay close attention to, and that it is a beautiful and interesting and complex and dynamic story about this Jamaican family, but it takes a lot of attention and you've got to really focus on the text. So to do that, I decided to get it on a physical copy of it instead of trying to force myself to listen to it. The next one that I have is actually this little booklet of poetry by Elizabeth Acevedo, and this is Beast Girl and Other Origin Myths. And this is just a small poetry book of myths that she has kind of recreated. I'm thinking. I haven't really heard or haven't seen anybody talk about this. I think Elizabeth Acevedo is very well known for her YA works, Clock When You Land, The Poet X, and With the Fire on High. So she's well known for those, but I don't know if anybody's really aware of her poetry collection that she has out. So this is one that I also may try to get to this month sometime, because it's super thin and the poems are really, I don't know if you guys can see that, probably not too well, but the poems are really short. And I just randomly found this on the shelf and I was like, I didn't know Elizabeth Acevedo had a poetry collection that was basically a retelling of myths. So the next book that I have here is Anthem by Deborah Wiles. And this is a National Book Award finalist. And I just happened to see this book. First of all, it's a chunky book. It's really thick. I believe, let's see how long this is. And this is a cool book. I want to show you all some pictures from this. Is over 400 books, but 400 pages, not 400 books. It's over 400 pages, but this is actually a middle grade novel about these two kids by the name of Norman and Molly. And Norman is Molly's older cousin, and what ends up happening is that Molly's older brother gets into an argument with their father about the war. This takes place in 1969 during the Vietnam War, and he ends up getting drafted, and they end up going on this road trip to find her brother, who supposedly is in San Francisco. And they end up seeing so many different things of this era: race riots, protests, so many different things. I don't think I've read a book that has taken place during the Vietnam War. I've seen documentaries and movies that take place during the time, but not an actual book. And I find that to be really fascinating. And what's cool about this is that every chapter of this book actually contains a song as the heading. Let's see if I get it to focus a little bit better. It contains a song as a heading, and it tells you who it's written by, who it's performed by, where it was recorded, and who the drummer was. And then this book also includes pictures from the year. So this is like a history nerd's dream here, and I can't believe that I just haven't gotten to this. I feel like I've had this checked out for a minute. And then there's also like quotes at the end of some chapters. There are just pictures everywhere, like absolutely everywhere. This is going to be so good. I cannot wait to read this. I may pick this up in August. I think a lot of these are going to end up being on my August CBR. So. The next book that I have here is Hadriana and All My Dreams, which is by Renee de Pestre. I probably am saying that wrong. This is a book that is a translated work that takes place in a Haitian village during the height of Carnival in 1938, and it's about a young woman by the name of Hadriana who is supposed to be marrying this man. And what ends up happening is that she drinks this poisonous drink and ends up turning into a zombie. So her wedding day actually turns into her funeral. It sounds really weird, but it says that it's set against a backdrop of magic and eroticism and recounted with delirious humor, and it raises universal questions about race and sexuality. This sounds like a book for October, and it may just happen. This just may be a book that happens in October. And the last book that I have on this list is Mango Delight by friend Caswell Hyman. And this is about a young girl by the name of Mango who has a BFF by the name of Brooklyn. And then all of a sudden they're not friends anymore. And it ends up being this kind of revenge plot where Brooklyn signs up Mango for this school talent show, and it backfires because Mango becomes super popular and a YouTube sensation, and she catches the attention of the most popular girl in school, and then Mango has some decisions to make as a result. I think that this is going to be fascinating. I have never heard anyone talk about this one, and I love the illustration on the cover. I think it is absolutely gorgeous, and I can't wait to pick this one up. All right, y'all, so that was my library book haul, my currently checked out. I hope you guys have enjoyed. If there's anything that you're interested in reading in this pile, or anything that you think I should read first, or anything that you would like me to review first, let me know in the comment box below. As always, if you like this channel, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more content from me, click the subscribe button. Remember, I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. All of my social media links will be down in the description box, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.